Hi, I'm Pauline, and you're watching Pauline Interviews. And once again, I'm interviewing, this is part 2 of my series with psychic Laurie McQuary, who's here in Lake Oswego, Oregon. She has a business called Management by Intuition. And today, Laurie, I want to talk about who would come in to see you, why they might come in to see you. I know we can't mention any names, but maybe you have some interesting
Well, I
clients.
begin with, you'd be surprised who comes in to see me.
That's a good opening.
And by that I mean, I think a lot of people have this across-the-board just thought that it's only a certain type of person, needy, incapable of making their own decisions. Well, sometimes they are, but for the most part, I have pretty articulate, well-informed, educated people.
Well, management by intuition, that at least...
That helps. It doesn't sound too crazy.
No, it doesn't. No,
Yeah.
It sounds like management, somebody who wants your expertise. Maybe they have a business and they want to move it along.
Exactly. Well, and I'm careful because I've had people come in and go, well, you know, I want to know all about these employees and who I should fire. And I go, you know, I'm not going there. What I will give you is I will give you a personality rundown of that person and how they fit into your business. In fact, I've gone physically into businesses and done just that. Done a walkthrough with the owner and just kind of done a read on certain people. And it certainly isn't about letting people go from positions, maybe moving them into something that suits them better. And then a lot of times, in one year, many years ago, I had somebody in the lumber business who brought me copious pages of what his competition was doing. Oh, that was boring. And so what he did was he would bring me the prior month's figures on what his competition did, and he wanted me to give him the next month's figures. So it can be variable. For the most part, though, what I find is sessions are usually about people and their lives and what is not going well. Usually it's love, health, business, marriage kind of thing.
Yeah. Would anybody come in that since you're psychic and you take a hit on them and think, oh, I don't want to be around this person, I don't want to read for them. Have you ever had anybody that came in that kind of scared you, or?
Yep, a couple of times. I think truly I can say without exception that I have escorted someone out of my office, and I mean escorted, and that's because they became highly argumentative and I knew that there was problems there. And I just said, this is not working for me and I think we should close this. And one young lady, I had to almost physically take her by the arm and ask her to leave. But that's so rare. I think no more than, I've been in business over 30 years and I would say maybe 6 times.
Was emotional issues, or?
It was emotional. She was combative, argumentative. I did not charge her. And that happens very rarely. And I think it's usually because people come in because they want to hear what I have to say. That's what they're here for. And if somebody wants to just come in and argue, I see no point in wasting your time and my time. And I'll call a halt to it.
So they were arguing because some of the things you were telling them, maybe they didn't want to
They don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Now, we were talking in the previous segment about children. You don't like take anybody under the age of 12.
Well, that's pretty impressionable. You know, I think at 12, at least kids today especially, you know, are pretty up on things. And I would be very, very careful of what I, you know, would talk with this child about. I prefer older. I love to talk with teens, like, you know, 15, 16. I like to talk about their potential.
Oh, yeah.
And of course the parent can be present if they wish. Sometimes parents have not. They've just waited out in the waiting room. But they have a recording of the session so they can hear what I'm saying. And my delight is years later when that kid is grown and comes back to see me as a full-grown adult and say, you know, I followed the path you suggested and I'm doing research now, or I'm doing this other thing. It's nice.
I like 2 of the things you said, because when I was going to school, you know, we had career counselors. They don't know anything about you.
No.
Remember my father went in with me and the counselor says, well, what do you want to be? I said, I want to be a figure skater. My father goes, she doesn't know what she wants to do, but I really wanted
you did know what you wanted to do.
I wanted to be a figure skater. But 2 things that you said that made an impression on me was, one is that you discussed the potential of the child, or even a person. I mean, I can be an adult and say, I have these different venues I want to try, what do you think? And the other thing that impressed me was what you said about going to a business, and rather than, you know, trying to get anybody fired, you say, because owners sometimes don't realize, like I've worked in business and I say, God, if they only knew I can do this and I can do that, they could put me to better use. And I think that's amazing, and to me that's a wonderful thing to be able to use your psychic abilities to
Well,
'Cause
It's
we waste our
wonderful
time
that people
otherwise.
request it.
Mhm.
It's nice, I think, that a business owner would say, something ain't working, so let's sit and look at it, and
It's a
I
wise
think that's-
person.
Yeah, and I think that's marvelous.
Mhm.
The other piece I'd like to interject here, because it kind of went with a couple of the other questions, is if somebody does come in and seems to have some mental upset and some real problems, I always have therapists on hand that I can refer them to. And that includes children. I would make sure that if I picked up something they missed, why, let's give this person a call if you'd like some more clarification.
Mhm.
So I always like to work in league with that.
Good idea, yeah, because you can't
Well,
solve
I'm
all
not
problems,
qualified
yeah.
to be that, no, not
Right,
at all.
and that was gonna lead me to ask you, like, somebody came in with bipolar, schizophrenia, something like that.
They have.
Oh.
Well, you know, they will, if they're on medication and they have a therapist, I'll work with them. And I always make sure that therapist knows that I'm working with them. And when people are on medication, you can work with them.
You can.
And we don't, of course, go into their disease. We
Uh-huh.
go into their life situation, and
Mhm.
sometimes just trying to help them
Mhm.
take a different look at things in their lives.
Mhm.
After all, that's what life is about.
That's true.
It's what we
yeah.
project it to be.
Yeah. So I was thinking it might be difficult to work with somebody who is schizophrenic or something like that. Are they more open? Are they?
If they're on medication, you can deal with
You can
it.
deal with it. Okay.
It's when they're not on medication that it's difficult, and no, I would not go very far with that.
So do you ever have somebody who it's hard to read because for some reason they're blocked, or I know one time I came in, not me, but if they come in with another person, it's hard for you to read with them bringing a friend.
I don't read with,
No,
I don't
yeah.
read with more than you, the person in
Right.
the reading, because that mixes energy.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, sometimes the blockage is the other person's, not mine.
Right.
And
Well, that's what I mean. The other person comes in blocked and.
well, my favorite is usually somebody who's been brought in by their wife, their husband,
Oh.
and
Yeah.
you know, the guy is like, well, I'm here, and I don't know what she wants me to be here for, so, you know, we may not get off to the best start that way, and, you know, I'm not gonna waste time and energy, and I don't want the other person to either if they're not receptive to just listening.
So some people will send their spouse.
Oh, yes, in fact, they do it just great, they bring them in at the last second and don't tell them where they're bringing them.
Oh.
So I pretty much screen that now because I do my own
What do they
secretarial
want you to
stuff.
do? Find out what's wrong with them?
Well, I don't know, maybe they think the magic wand is here in the room somewhere and I'm gonna change them. But if someone says, I wanna make an appointment for my husband or my wife or whatever, I will say, is this person aware of who I am and what this is about? And I've been doing that for the last several years, but there was some real surprises that came in the door. And
Can you say one without mentioning a client's name?
well, I can think of a gentleman who came in with his, I don't know if he thought he was going to the dentist or what, but he came in and he was looking around. Well, you know, there's nothing in my office that suggests that I do strange things, I don't think. It
Right.
looks pretty normal. I do have a crystal ball a client gave me years ago, it's in the back room. But finally, you know, she said, his wife, are you ready? And he said, I don't know, what am I doing? And so I thought, well, better to snip this in the process right now than to get him combative in the back room. And I told him what I did. I wish to goodness she had just said, let's look at the webpage, let's do something to prepare you. It turned out okay, and it turned out that he came back as a repeat client
Oh,
after
nice.
that. So it's all in the perception of what a psychic does.
Yes.
And a lot of people I look at, I often think they think I read their mind. I don't, which I wouldn't want to anyway. But again, it's the perception. So it turned out okay, but he was pretty hesitant. And had he just walked, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Speaking of reading minds, I know in an interview I did with you, I think you told me at one time when you first started to develop your psychic abilities, you were starting to pick up people's thoughts.
I was in a
That's scary.
Safeway checkout line or whatever
Oh.
the store was back in the late 70s, and standing behind this woman, and I wasn't thinking about her or much of anything else, and she was right in front of me, and I just felt, oh my God, she is so worried about her son and him getting the job in New York. I tapped her on the shoulder, told her, I thought she's going to have a heart attack, thank God she didn't, and she thanked me.
Oh.
But I thought, you know, this is not cool. You just can't invade people's privacies, even if you pick up something.
You're just compassionate, you're trying to be kind.
Well, but I wouldn't do that now. And I know psychics who do, we see them on TV where they stop people on street corners and give them readings about their past relatives. That's fine if they do that. I would not want to do that.
Have you ever had anybody come in and you're reading for them and there's some really bad things that are coming up?
Yes.
And how do you handle that?
I give them the information. It depends on the situation, what you mean by really bad things.
Okay, I know you well enough to know you'd never do this, but I won't even mention the name of a psychic who passed away recently.
Right.
But I read that she told somebody they're going to die and that they weren't even sick, and
Well, that's
take
tacky.
some responsibility.
Yes, of course. I give people what I'm told, and I explain, and sometimes people will come in and go, am I going to hear a lot of bad things? And I will say, let's preface this with saying, I don't look for bad. However, and this has happened, if I tell you, you better take care of your health, and I used to be a nurse, but I'm not a doctor, so I'm not, diagnosing anything, but it might be a good idea for your dad to go to the doctor and get checked out. His heart's got some problems. And I've had people email me, call me back and say, you were right, my dad went to the doctor. Well, great, that's called preventive medicine.
Yes.
But
yes,
I'm not going to
that's
look at
positive.
somebody and say, you're going to die.
Yeah.
I did have a young lady many years ago, probably back in the early 80s, who came to my office, very young, probably 18 or 19, and I did warn her about driving. I said, you drive a red car? And she said, yeah. I said, I think you think because it's red it goes faster, and I warned her. Unfortunately, about a year later, her cousin came in to tell me she had not survived a car accident. She was driving.
She didn't heed you.
So, would it have made a difference if I had anything? Well, it didn't seem to make a difference because I told her. I don't know. I don't look for the negative. But once in a while, I had a guy come in many years ago, and I don't even know why he came in. His wife insisted he come in. It turned out he was majorly into drugs. He sat there the whole 30 minutes while I told him, and I thought, this guy knows what he's into, and I'm being told this, this, and this, and I gave him the whole schmeal about how it was going to end in his life if he didn't. And at the end of 30 minutes, he got up, walked out, paid, said to the secretary, that was very interesting. And it was about 6 months later that he died, and he died of a drug thing. So
that's sad.
I don't enjoy those sessions, but maybe that person was supposed to come and get information. Apparently he didn't do anything with it. But most sessions aren't heavy like that.
And then we're talking about things that you pick up that are going to be obvious because the girl knows she's driving fast, guy knows he's having drugs. But what about, some people will come in and see you, and I like to say Deepak Chopra talks about the potentialities, the things that could happen. So when you give somebody advice,
when I give them a prediction, I tell them it's a probability. You're
exactly.
in charge of your life.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Some things are more predictable than others. If you don't quit dating that serial killer, we know how it's going to end. But most people's lives aren't like that.
So people come into you for several reasons. They want maybe to know about their health, their career, romance.
Sometimes it's death.
Oh.
A man came in to see me not too long ago who had lost his wife.
Oh.
And sometimes they want clarity. Is that person okay? Well, and I always say, well, nobody ever seems to want to come back. It must be nice over there. And I give it a little lightness, but I'm serious about it.
I know, right.
But this man was very still upset about the passing, and he said to me, I was the last one to see her take her last breath. And he said it a couple of times. And I didn't think, but it came out, and I said, well, better you than a stranger. And he went, oh, thank you. I hadn't thought of it that way. Well, okay, good. If I gave him one-liner for the day or the year that would put him at rest with that, ease with it, it's worth it.
I met a wonderful man, James von Prague.
I worked with him.
Oh, you did? I
filmed with him in Texas about 7 years ago.
He sees people that, have you seen people that cross over?
Sure. Not all the time.
I knew that you could see ghosts, but I didn't, maybe I forgot.
Well, when I do haunting, when I go to a house that's troubled, I'd rather say that. Haunting is such a weird word. But when there's troubled souls, I can sense that. I have seen what we call spirits many years past. I haven't any in the years frequently. I wouldn't want that.
Right.
And it's too disconcerting for me. I want to live my life. If I get a profound dream, I'll pay attention to it. If I get what I sense is a presence trying to contact me, it's for a good reason.
Right.
But I don't see it all the time.
Okay. So people wouldn't necessarily come to you, this man did, but to say, can you please contact my
No,
father?
I don't do medium work. I do
Yeah.
get messages though.
Mhm.
In fact, I'll share one with you that I think you'll.
Oh,
Because
really?
the lady thought it was funny. She'd come in to see me, and I talked a little bit about her brother who'd passed,
Uh-huh.
and she didn't have a picture with her, so I said, send me a photo email. She did later. I looked at it, and I do get messages that way, and I said, why is he telling me about a bear? Well, we had hardly talked about him during the session, and she said, I have no idea what a bear means. I said, well, was it a bear he liked when he was a kid? I said, no, what I'm looking at now is it's Smokey the bear.
Oh,
And
he
she
died-
said, he was an arsonist.
Oh my God, I thought you were gonna say he died in a fire.
No, he was an arsonist.
Oh, gee.
So, that was just kind of strange how
Yeah.
it comes. And I just honor it and pay attention to it. And what did that do for her? Well, I guess it was confirmation. We were talking about him. But that's not the work I would want to do all the time anyway. I really like cases. I like unsolved
We're gonna
homicides
do
and missing people.
we're gonna do a special
And those are
segment on
spirits
that.
come
Yeah, we're
through.
gonna do a segment on that. But I want to end by maybe telling people how did now I've known you and I know you're so legitimate. You have a business been going on for years. You're respected. You were on national television. You work with James von Prague. I mean, you've got a lot of credibility. But if I were new to a city and I wanted to work with a psychic, what would I look for to know that this is a person I could trust?
First of all, I'd like to see that they have an address. I get worried about people who just do psychic RS kind of work on the telephone. You don't know who they are, where they're coming from. If the person has a physical address, I prefer an office, but some people do this work out of their home, understandably. Check and see if they have a business license. Check with Better Business Bureau, see if there are complaints. Does this person have a web page? And then, of course, I think the best thing is word of mouth. If you were coming fresh into Portland, say, Portland, Oregon, and wanting referrals, I would refer you down to Renaissance Bookstore in Northwest 23rd. They're reputable, they're lovely people, and they have listings of good people that you can go see for a number of reasons. Psychics just aren't all the same across the board. We all do something a little different. But be careful.
So in our next segment, we're going to talk about some of your proudest moments with the work you do. So thanks for watching Interviews with Pauline and my guest, Laurie McQuary, who is a psychic here in Lake Oswego, Oregon, Management by Intuition.